here, but what are the schools like in this district? Yeah, we have twins in the 5th grade. This neighborhood isn't really for your kids. You know what I mean?
If you're Black, Latino, Asian American, or Middle Eastern, and a real estate agent or rental agent says anything like this, you know what it means. You're being discriminated against. Housing discrimination because of race, color, or national origin is against the law. If you believe you've experienced housing discrimination, contact HUD. Go to HUD.gov/fair housing. That's HUD.gov/fair housing. Fair housing. The law is on your side. A message from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development in partnership with the National Fair Housing Alliance.
Do you want to make your community a better place? Then Louisville Metro Police Department is the place for you. LMPD is looking for quality applicants who want to contribute to a better Louisville with lots of opportunities to advance and specialization like helicopter pilot, K-9 handler, and river patrol, and certifications in areas such as scuba and computer forensics. You'll love the great benefits LMPD has to offer, including tuition reimbursement, take-home cards, and retirement. Go to louisville-police.org and click Become an Officer to learn more.
70 years, sir. African American Community, 104.7 FM, AM 1350
You are listening to The Tipping Point Show with your host, Mr. Just Ask Joe, John Yeah. Right here on WLOU. Streaming live on Facebook and WLOUonline.com. And now, The Tipping Point Show.
Hey, what is up, everybody? Once again, good morning to another episode of The Tipping Point Morning Show. It is your host, your boy, Mr. Just Ask Joe, and my brother from another mother, Brother John Yah. How you doing there, family?
I'm great, brother. How about yourself this morning?
Oh, man, I am fantastic, and I definitely appreciate being able to wake up and do another show, man, and enjoy this. I love what we do on here because, you know, what we're doing is not about, tooting any horns, but not ours, but when it comes to businesses, especially those that have opened up through this pandemic, which is fantastic. I think it's awesome that people have taken advantage of the good things that this pandemic has had to offer, which is lower rent costs when it comes to commercial buildings and a whole lot of other things, man. It's awesome how this has kind of been a reset and people are taking advantage of it, and it's a beautiful thing. How's your world going?
Yeah, man, it's going great. It's like I said, this is one of the best times to be alive, and the reason why during the pandemic that we have an opportunity to make a stand, and this opportunity will go down in history. So regardless of what side you're on, it's like this is going to go down in history. The guy that was on the right side of the track. It's very interesting. So you got those who are adamant about taking the vaccine, and you got those who are adamant about not taking the vaccine. Those who are adamant will bring all the proof that they feel that validates what they feel and what they're thinking. And then on the other side, you have those that can validate and do exactly the same, which is just enough evidence. So it's really like a balanced way. And what we got to understand is we got to understand how to pull together and not get into this. Hey, you didn't take the vaccine, you're the problem. Hey, you took the vaccine, you're the problem. And it creates that family separation. So this is a great time to be alive because right now there's this race for survival. There's this race to survive and get through this, right? And so those of us who are on one side, I am proud to be on this show, to be advocating why we should not take it and what we should be doing, increasing our health, increasing our immune system, increasing our ability to find another income and not be so enslaved to have to take the shot because of our employer response. And I'm glad for the next show we're gonna have, and I'm thankful for this show we're gonna have today. It's gonna be very exciting. Next week we're gonna talk about homeschooling and what a lot of parents are talking about, pulling their kids out of public school. And so this is the opportunity that we need to talk about, how to support the local homeschool Whether your child goes to that school or not, we should support it because maybe one day you may have a child that needs to be pulled out of Jefferson County Public Schools.
Oh yeah, Jefferson County and every other county public schools across the Americas. I mean, to be honest with you, when it comes to homeschooling, man, now that's a task. But when you talk about that, it's really not as difficult because we have homeschools. There's homeschools all across the U.S. and it's about being able to support it. My thought behind it is, what happens as the homeschool begins to grow? Then, at that point, you end up with, do you end up with the same problem that you have with public schools, which is not enough teachers and too many students, or what? That's kind of the thought that comes to mind when I think more and more about homeschooling becoming so popular. But the one thing that I know is from those that I've met homeschool, like Layla, the educator Hampton, they are so much more passionate about what they do. So much more passionate, man, about what they do, and I see care and love and joy for what they do, and those are things that I think sometimes are missing. I think sometimes people get caught up and they're so many years in, and the system beats them down. They can't do this, they can't do that, and the system tends to beat them down. So those are things that make them, in a sense, end up kind of, in a sense, almost hating what they do. And you see some teachers and it's like, man, why are you a teacher? Because you clearly don't like people. So you probably shouldn't be here because there's people everywhere. But either way, man, I'm one thing that this pandemic has done has awakened people to the understanding that we've got to start doing things different. It exposed a lot of things.
Yes.
A lot of things. And I want to give a big shout out to, again, Layla, the educator Hampton, who's watching with us on social media. Phyllis, Churchill Myers, thank you. Health Daddy, wow, brother Frank Stoner, appreciate you, brother. Keisha Williams, Grand Rising to you and everyone else here. Again, Keisha Williams being a supporter of the show financially as well. So we appreciate those that are out there that say, hey, Layla, thank you once again, shooting the Cash App. Hey, that is $ the Tipping Point Show. You can always hit us up if you want to show us some love. This is how we, y'all's love is how we pay to do what we do every week. All right. And with that in mind, I also want to let everyone know WLOUonline.com. You can follow us there as well. You can we can roll with you on WLOUonline.com. So if you're in at work or whatever, you want to plug in some headphones, you can just hit us WLOUonline.com. And as you can see, Facebook Live at the Tipping Point Show or the Tipping Point Radio Show. You find us there. And also on YouTube, we're streaming live as well, right behind me on my computer and every other computer across the land at hashtag the Tipping Point Morning Show. So, you guys can find us there. And we have a fantastic show for you today. I tell you what, man, I'm excited about this show. I love it whenever we get a chance to have any type of medical professional on the show, because it gives us an opportunity to really see things through their eyes, because they are front lines when it comes to a lot of what's going on. And our special guest that we have on today, Dr. Ben, he's, when I say front line, I mean, he's out there in the protests, holding signs up saying, hey, choice, that should be the thing here. We should not be forcing anyone to take this or take that. It should be freedom of choice. And again, I use that analogy. Hey, it's amazing how it's freedom of choice when it comes to what do you call it? Abortion, right? Freedom of choice there. Now I would weigh that very seriously, right? You're talking about whether or not, or the argument of when this becomes life, this thing growing inside of a woman becomes life, right? and the debate of whether to nix that, you know, and I'm sorry to say it that way, but a debate to nix that. But here we are with this vaccine. We've dealt with vaccines for many years, and all of a sudden, it needs to be mandated, right? That's the argument out here. But either way, interesting stuff. We'll talk about that. Hey, real quick, man, have you been following up with these fights locally in school?
I've been hearing about it, seeing some things on Facebook about what was going on here in Louisville with a teacher calling out some names or using racial slurs.
Yeah, you know, and it's you know, we're hitting national news once again, you know, here in Louisville, Kentucky. I think you know, is either first 48 and then which isn't the greatest news to be hitting, and that was, you know, highlighting Beecher Terrace, but then we have Breonna Taylor situation, right? You know, and of course we've hit national news for plenty of amazing things. We can talk about football and everything else, right? But you know, as far as this type of stuff, Breonna Taylor, and then you know, yet again David McAtee, that was, you know, New York Times as well, and once again New York Times picked up this story about this student, and it's interesting. It's I believe the brother's name. I'm trying to remember it. If anybody ends up calling in and telling us that young man's name that was involved in this, but it had something to do with him wearing his bandana that he wears for, I guess, as a mask as well, and he got into some type of altercation with the teacher over that. And the teacher said something to the effect of, "You'll just end up as another black kid, you know, laying in the street," or something like that. Now, apparently, this kid may have you know, somewhat of a rough background. You know, last year he was shot in the streets as well. So, you know, but we're jumping up, right? Jumping up real quick and labeling him as the face of mental health in the community, or the face of PTSD, and saying that his PTSD was triggered. But when I try to ask any questions about how it went from this conversation about his bandana with the teacher to an actual physical altercation, no one can get me from point A to point Z. So that's the part that I find tough, because I don't like jumping out there and yelling, screaming, shouting, protesting about something that I don't have all the facts about. You know, but it seems that sometimes we get so passionate, and that's what we end up doing, is we end up running out there and we end up throwing our fist up, and you know, sometimes we end up looking like we got egg on our face.
Yeah. You know, one of the things I see here is that whatever is on the news most will get most attention and will draw your energy. Okay, so again, example. Every time something comes up like this, we got to have something to trigger our people, Black people, African Americans, to some type of trigger that where it moves our attention. While right now they're still passing laws and they are doing things, and here what are we doing? In Australia, they already did a lockdown. They're already locking people up right now in Australia. Right, I was on Clubhouse talking to a gentleman from Australia, and how only one person can come out the house, and if anyone has COVID and they give COVID to someone, guess what? That person can be sued, and if you give a company COVID and the company has to shut down, guess what? You got to pay for that company shutdown. So we're not paying attention. And here, what are we over here doing? Now, if we're not over here being distracted with some of the news media, we over here climbing crates. Getting crates behind stores and climbing crates and see
the new crate challenge.
Let me tell you something. Yeah, let me tell you something. Black people, you have a problem in loving seeing black people fall. And this is where we are. And that's the only thing that's going to happen is that we are celebrating our demise by wishing somebody falls off a crate. And it's interesting how we celebrate it by looking at it, laughing at it, and posting it, repeatedly posting it, to where we love seeing ourselves fall. I don't see no other race doing it. I don't see no Japanese. I don't see no Arabs doing it. What I'm saying is that there's a serious problem with us, that we want to laugh at one of our own falling. This is where we are in this society. While we sucking and jiving, these people are trying to pass some laws to control you. And we don't get that point, right? Because we're easily distracted.
Man.
Easily.
Man, that's truth, man. That is some truth. And it's interesting here. And you know, we can continue the convo as we wait on our guests to call in. But you know, it's interesting how that works. But you know, it's some interesting stuff there, because you know, you're right, we're easily distracted, just the same. So it's interesting how that works. Let's see, Jerry, do we have our guest calling in on the line? Jerry?
Yes, sir. Yes, you do, sir. She's on now.
All right, fantastic. Well, I want to welcome to the show another fighter out here, fighting for civil liberties, just the same, trying not to allow them to control us as they're trying to do. Dr. Ben, or Dr. Benjamin, welcome to the Tipping Point Morning Show. How you doing there, sir?
I'm doing excellent, Joe. Thanks for having me on.
All right, thank you. I'm going to bring you on the video as well, and we'll add you to the stream and mute you there. All good. All right, so how's everything going? Now, you're over in Arizona, correct?
That's right, yeah.
Good stuff. Now, Dr. Ben, this is my co-host, Brother John Yah, and
how you doing?
You guys both.
Hey, good morning, John.
You guys both are big health advocates. So, Dr. Ben, tell us a little bit about your credentials, what you do. I see a lot of talk about autoimmune disease and things of that nature. Maybe give us a quick little synopsis of your story, and just let people know who you are.
Sure, I'll give you the shortest version that I can, because I do like to ramble. But basically, first part of my career, I wasn't a doctor. I was actually an engineer working in the microchip industry. I didn't know anything about health, anything about vaccines, anything about nutrition, anything about drugs, any of that. And I got really sick in my late 20s out of nowhere. And chronic fatigue, chronic pain, chronic digestive issues, chronic eczema, brain fog, really bad. And doctors couldn't figure out what was wrong with me, couldn't help. And I kind of went through the whole medical ringer, got told, like, we don't know what's wrong with you, labs look fine, let's put you on this drug, put you on that drug, not getting any better, getting worse. And eventually I just had to go, okay, you know, this is not working for me. Like, I really thought, I had my faith in the medical system, that, like a lot of people do, to save me, and it didn't. And so I had to drop out, fire all my doctors, and just start researching on my own, and, you know, reading articles, and reading books, watching documentaries, you know, things like that, and basically came to the conclusion that if I changed my diet and my lifestyle, maybe some of these problems would go away. And I didn't want to do it at first, because I didn't want to make changes. But I got pinned into a corner where my health was so bad, I was gonna like lose my job. I couldn't really do anything, couldn't work, couldn't really go out and be social. And so I found out, you know, within 2 months of making the right changes, all symptoms completely gone. Felt like a completely new person. And so after about a year doing that, just like living a super healthy lifestyle and eat tons of fruits and vegetables, and being a really evangelical guy about health, because I wanted everybody to know how much better I felt. Nobody wanted to listen to me. Well, you know, if I go become a doctor, maybe they'll listen to me. And also, I just wanted to help people who've been through the same thing, because I knew that there's a lot of people who just get chewed up and spit out by the system. You know, don't get any better. They put their faith in it, and it doesn't work for them. And so I wanted to be the guy that helped them, the guy that I couldn't find, 11 years ago. And so was going to be a naturopathic doctor because I didn't want to bother with drugs. I knew that was a dead end. But then it ended up that like the state I wanted to practice in time didn't allow that, so I was going to go be a chiropractor and practice naturopathy de facto. And now I'm basically working as a chiropractor, so I do the usual spine stuff, and I do nutrition, diet, lifestyle with people and help people with autoimmune disease, reverse it naturally without drugs. And so that's what I'm super passionate about. So autoimmune diseases include stuff like rheumatoid arthritis, multiple sclerosis, thyroid, Hashimoto's, Crohn's disease, colitis. There's a long list of them. But any of these diseases of the immune system attacking the body, that's the kind of thing we can reverse with diet and lifestyle. And that's what I love to help people with. And so the way I got into the medical freedom fight was I was researching these autoimmune diseases. Why does the immune system attack the body? Well, didn't make any sense, right? And all the medical literature said, for most of it, said we don't know. But you dig deep enough, you start finding cases showing up in certain studies. What studies? Vaccination safety studies. Gardasil vaccine. Within 6 months of getting all 3 shots, 2.3% of women got an autoimmune disease. That became a smoking gun. And I realized that if there wasn't a causal relationship, there was damn well sure at least a correlation. And the more I dug into it and actually read data on vaccines, it was clear that there was a connection between vaccination and autoimmune disease. And so that's when I got involved in advocating for vaccine choice and preserving vaccine choice, preserving exemptions for people politically. And so when this whole COVID thing came down the pipe, I knew 2020 was just a giant vaccine commercial. That's all it was. It was just a giant publicity stunt. So I knew this was coming. Here we are. We're fighting. And I guess that brings you to the present day.
Wow. So
let me.
That's amazing, man. You've been through a lot, and John, I'm gonna let you jump in here. I went through the same thing with an autoimmune disease myself, with Crohn's disease, and I just happened to start as a sales demonstrator for a company called Vitamix Corporation, and as I started showcasing that Whole Foods juicing blender and drinking this stuff as well, the first thing I noticed is that if I drank a big glass of this 100% bioavailable, nutritious liquid where the only sweetener I used was a dab of honey for some B vitamins and live digestive enzymes, that it would coat the inside of my intestinal tract and I could literally eat whatever I want, whereas before I couldn't. And then I started just, as you start drinking more and more raw fruits and vegetables, well, guess what? Your palate changes and you start to consume more. So, it changed my life. Absolutely. No colonoscopy bag whatsoever, no surgeries, none of that stuff. So that's awesome. Go ahead, John.
Let me ask you a question. Are you linking autoimmune disease somehow to the vaccines that are out there? Is that what you're saying? That somehow the rise for autoimmune disease is connected to vaccines?
It's not the only cause. I think it's multifactorial. But I think that it contributes. So you think about what a vaccination is. It's a drug that's designed to alter your immune system, right? For the better. Like they're trying to alter it for the better, so you're immune to whatever disease they're shooting you up with. But we also know that drugs have these things called side effects. They all do, right? They don't do just what they're trying to do. They do other stuff. Because you can't do one thing in the human body. Like, if you, give someone a drug that, like a blood thinner, an anticoagulant for their blood pressure, well, basically now their blood's not going to clot on the inside so that they don't get plaques in their arteries. But guess what? Their blood's also not going to clot on the outside if they get a cut or have a wound or something like that. It's not going to heal. So there's all side effects. You can't do one thing to the body. Like there's downstream effects. So when you try to modulate the immune system and alter it in some way, you're not just altering in the way you think you're altering it. There are unforeseen consequences. And it appears, based on the preponderance of evidence, that one of those side effects is autoimmunity.
So let me ask you a question. So do your clients, if they come to you with, let's say a client comes to you, do your clients come to you that have the symptoms of COVID? And if they, so what do you treat them with, or what do you advise them?
I don't treat people with acute COVID. I don't do that. So there's other. I treat chronic disease, not acute disease. So here's my perspective. Okay, since doing this diet and lifestyle that I do now, high raw, plant-based, lots of green smoothies, using the Vitamix every day, I don't get sick. Like, I don't know how to describe it. I've been sick maybe 3 times in the past 10 years, and it lasted a day or 2. So I'm not really personally worried about getting COVID. Like, if I get it, it'll be about as bad as tripping off a curb. I'll be okay, right? So I'm much more about live a healthy diet and lifestyle, and there's people that essentially bullshit themselves as thinking that they do. They don't really. But if you really actually live, a very healthy lifestyle, getting the flu or getting COVID is like not a thing you're gonna worry about. Like, even if you do get it, it's gonna be pretty mild. So that's where I start. If you haven't been living a healthy lifestyle and you've been drinking and eating junk food, well, guess what? It's going to hit you a lot harder, and then you may need to look at therapy. But that's not something I don't advise people on taking drugs. So I'm not going to come on here and say, take this drug or that drug, or this is safe. I don't play in that pool. So I hate to dodge the question, but I don't treat those patients.
So in your circle of people, whether they're your patients or your colleagues, what are they saying? What are y'all saying about the vaccines, the dangers, the pros, the cons? What is out there in the discussion in your circle?
Well, I'm definitely seeing the interest people. That's for sure. They're coming into my office. Okay, they've got things like multiple sclerosis, Hashimoto's. They've got autoimmune disease, chronic fatigue, things that have just come out of nowhere, like very severe chronic diseases that happen within days of getting the first or second dose of, the science juice. So definitely seeing that for sure. I do have like naturopathic colleagues that are treating acute COVID with things as simple as IV vitamins, vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc. Not even going the HCQ or ivermectin route. Like, they want to treat it as conservatively as they can, because like even these drugs that in the alternative space are getting touted. They still have side effects, they still have risks, and they're very low. But treating it as conservatively as you can. I had a patient of mine who got COVID who I didn't treat, but she went and saw another practitioner and got, she's been sick for like 9 days, couldn't get out of bed, no symptoms other than fatigue, body ache, and a fever, no respiratory symptoms, tested positive multiple times. People came to her house in hazmat suits, gave vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc. She was up and walking around later that day. So that's the kind of stuff I'm seeing, if that answers that question.
Yes, yeah.
So Doc, did you get your half a watermelon in today for breakfast yet?
Not yet. It's only 6 a.m. down here, so I probably won't eat breakfast till later. But yeah, I've been smashing the watermelon for breakfast for sure.
I noticed that we talk a lot about the fruits and veggies, and definitely a lot about watermelon, even in just allowing more oxygen to flow through the bloodstream. But in this arena of the health and wellness or the medical fight out here, I see some of the stuff that you've been dealing with, and some of the posts that you've been making. Explain to people, what is VAERS, the VAERS data? What is that? and why is that a conversation piece?
Oh, sure. Great question. So the VAERS stands for the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System. So theoretically, if someone gets a vaccine and thereafter, it could be days, could be weeks, could be months, experiences what they believe to be an adverse event and a side effect, and that could be something as simple as like, getting like a rash on their arm, or be something complex as, developing like crippling Guillain-Barré syndrome or anything in between. They are supposed to tell their doctor about it, and their doctor is supposed to file a report to it, so that the record is kept, that we know that an adverse event happened. Here's the thing. A lot of stuff doesn't get reported because, number one, the patient doesn't realize there may be a connection. Number two, the patient may go to their doctor and say, hey, this funny thing happened after I got the shot. And the doctor says, oh, no, there's no link. It's not a correlation. It's not because of that. It's all in your head. Okay? Or the doctor may not know about VAERS, which, a couple of years ago, before this whole COVID thing, most didn't know that it exists, or they would try to report it to the manufacturer. So a lot of these things aren't getting reported. And we have we have a couple of laws in the United States that people should be aware of. Okay, number one is the 1986 Childhood Vaccine Injury Law, and the other one is the PrEP Act. Both of these laws make it such that if you have an adverse event from a vaccine, if you have an injury, a suspected injury, you can't sue the manufacturer. You can't sue Pfizer, you can't sue Moderna, you can't sue Merck, you can't sue GlaxoSmithKline, or any of these guys that make these drugs. You can't sue. They're literally not liable. There's no other product in the United States that has indemnity from liability other than nuclear waste. If you're harmed by nuclear waste, sorry, you can't sue the manufacturer. But pretty much any other product, if it harms you, you can sue them. Well, in the United States, you have to make a claim with the government. The government pays the money. You and I, the taxpayer, pays the cost if someone's injured by a vaccine and the manufacturer just goes, you sued. So that the adverse events are supposed to be reported by the system, but it doesn't always happen. A Harvard study showed that less than 1% of it, and this Harvard study pre-COVID showed that less than 1% of adverse events are actually reported. Okay, so now with these COVID shots, and I really don't like to call them vaccines. Okay, maybe you could say that of the Johnson & Johnson, but the Moderna and the Pfizer are essentially gene therapy. They don't meet the legal definition of a vaccine. The adverse events, the reports to VAERS are just blowing it up. They're like behind on logging them, right? They're deleting random ones out of nowhere. The system's very, very shaky. It's not robust. It's not good at tracking things. It's very easy to report things wrong. To get bad data in there, and so it doesn't really track what's going on. It kind of makes it a mess, so that they go, oh yeah, there's like 12,000 deaths reported, but a lot of that data is bad, and a lot of those people are lying, and a lot of that is that people don't understand that it wasn't the vaccine, even though they died the day after. So we know that it exists, but it's really bad at tracking things. So that's what we've got. And so that's why we've kind of got a mess. At least all these people can report deaths and adverse injuries and paralysis and serious chronic conditions that happen, and they can just gloss it off and say, oh, that data in that VAERS thing is unreliable. You can't listen to it. Like, there really haven't been deaths. That's just hysterical anti-vaxxers who are reporting that stuff. And it's like, really? Someone goes and gets the vaccine and dies? You think they got it voluntarily as an anti-vaxxer who didn't want to get vaccinated and died, and then their family member reported it? Like, give me a break. So that's the VAERS system essentially. But you can go on, I think it's VAERS.hhs.gov, and you can look at it. It's public domain. You can pull up a spreadsheet and see, there's thousands of adverse events on there, and you can look through them. It's publicly available information. It's hard to find. You really got to dig to get to it, but it's there.
Yeah. So
now
that's interesting. Go ahead, John.
There's a lot of medical doctors who are speaking out against it, and I'm running into a lot of doctors on Clubhouse, and I'm seeing certain doctors put out videos.
John, I can't hear you.
Huh?
There you go.
Okay. Doctors that are against the vaccine and it's putting out videos that are being taken down. These are medical doctors, and so and then I'm running into a lot of doctors on Clubhouse that are advising people not to take the vaccine. Why do you think that it is so hard for just a medical doctor to get out there for people to listen? Because right now people are listening, and they would only you sometimes have to have a white coat doctor for people to really get. In other words, even if a doctor comes on and it's not on the news, a lot of people won't follow it, because even though they hear it from a medical doctor, the news are still pushing the fear of needing to take the vaccine. Why do you think that is? A lot of doctors are being kicked out of the system.
Sure, that's a great question. And it basically comes down to money and power. So the pharmaceutical industry is the most powerful industry on the planet. They are the drug cartel. Okay, they are drug cartels. The pharmaceutical industry is really kind of a nice name for them. They have a lot of money, and with that money, they yield a lot of power. And so, just to give you an idea, they have the biggest lobby. In terms of like how much money they spend lobbying the federal government and the state government. Okay, so they have tremendous power over politicians. Okay, because they basically own them. They have 3 times the lobbying power of oil and gas. And we know that oil and gas is a powerful lobby. Okay, on television. How do they make money? How do the news stations make money?
Good question.
If you look at the commercials, they mostly are pharmaceutical commercials.
There you go.
Yep. So they make advertisers run ads on there. If you turn on the TV, you see an ad for Pizza Hut, and then the next thing you see is an ad for heartburn medication. Okay. Problem, solution. All right, it's all junk food and pharmaceuticals. Okay, so pharmaceuticals in non-election years, like this year but not last year, contribute either over 50% or 60% of the advertising dollars to the mainstream news show. Okay, so most of the revenue that they make is from running pharmaceutical ads. So if they didn't run pharmaceutical ads, they'd be broke. They'd be out of business. Okay? So essentially, the pharmaceutical industry de facto controls what's on the news. Because if the news wants to run a story about someone dying or having an adverse event or a vaccine, the industry goes, no, you don't run that. You don't get to run that. You run that, we pull our ads. You're done. You're done in this town. And so they wield a lot of power over the news just by default. So if there's some doctor that wants to come on and says, hey guys, like ivermectin, or hey guys, hydroxychloroquine, or hey guys, maybe the vaccine's a bad idea, they're never getting on the mainstream news. Ever. Because the advertisers call the shots. And the advertisers say, no, you're not running that story. You're not making us look bad. You don't get any more money. So the mainstream news has essentially become the stock puppet of the industry, just as the FDA and the CDC have become the stock puppet of the industry. So it looks like they're reporting fair and balanced and unbiased news. Well, no, they're just beholden to their sponsors. And if their sponsors want you to think there's some disease out there to be scared of so they can sell you more drugs, oh man, they're going to do a lot of that. And so the same thing happens in the government. We have the FDA and the CDC that pretend to be government agencies, but really they just have a lot of ex-pharma employees or government employees who've been promised pharma positions when they leave, and so they do the bidding of the industry. So we have this illusion that there's an unbiased media. We have this illusion that there's these neutral government regulators, but really they're all controlled by the industry. Okay. So whenever there's a story that they don't like, it just gets buried. And so, the same thing happens with these internet companies. Mark Zuckerberg, his wife, is a pediatrician. She administers vaccines for a living, and she still works, but she did at one point. So they are tied to drug manufacturers. So if you say something that they don't like about drug companies on Facebook, it's getting censored, it's getting buried, you're getting kicked off, you're getting thrown in Facebook jail. Hope you get some good prison tattoos while you're in jail, okay? So this stuff gets buried just because the industry has so much financial influence on the media, on the social media companies, on the FDA, the CDC, the regulators. So that's why you're not hearing about it, because there's just too much industry influence to suppress the information.
Amazing stuff. What bugs me about it is that these people who they declare as conspiracy theorists and things of that nature, they were normal practicing physicians the day before. And all of a sudden they decide to speak up, stand up, speak out. And next thing you know, everyone's like, oh, that person's not credible. Why? Because someone told you, in the media that person was incredible. So it's just, there's a lack of common sense in our country these days. I always tell people this all the time, Google the death of common sense, scroll down a bit. There's an obituary out there. It's a great read, fun read, but it talks about the death of common sense, and it goes through different historical timelines of things that changed and happened in our society that killed off common sense. But what I've found is that rolling with the idea of common sense, well, that's what helped me get over COVID. I looked at common sense. I said, hey, this is inflammation of mucus in the airways. I need to rid the body of mucus. And that's what I did. And 5 days later, I was one and done. It's probably 4 days. I took an extra day, but, one and done myself. And with that in mind, if this was about health, why aren't we talking raw fruits, vegetables, herbs, things of that nature, better eating habits? I mean, I saw Black Lives Matter giving out cases of milk in Black neighborhoods last year. What do we know about milk? It thickens mucus in the body. So ultimately, you're just perpetuating the problem by doing that. So it's just amazing how common sense is just totally out the window, and people just, they don't care. And I've noticed something, Doc. Your following is growing. I mean, I saw just a week ago, in just the last week, you've got like 4,000 new followers on Instagram there. So, what do you think it is that people are resonating with the most as you talk your talk?
I think the resonating most is that it's all charade, it's all a game. Like it's all a dog and pony show. The FDA, CDC, the media, they come out and they say these things with this like presumptive authority. Listen to us. We're the real doctors. We're the scientists. We're the good guys. And then they just straight up lie. And the people with the common sense can see through it. They can see that the emperor has no clothes. And so I call it out very plainly. I'm like, I don't, rush to any kind of conspiracy. I'm like, this is what's going on, right? Like I said something to the effect of like, the FDA has approved one of the shots, and the clinical trial is not even complete. So obviously the FDA is doing the bidding of the industry. You can't see it now, and then it's as obvious as it gets. And people are like, yeah, that post got a lot of traction.
Yep.
So I just explain things in terms of common sense, blatantly exposing the lies, the inconsistencies, doublespeak, and people go, yeah, that resonates with me. That's totally true. And I just explain things in common sense terms. I'm not hysterical. I'm just trying to be Captain Obvious, essentially. And I think that's what people resonate with. Like you said, common sense. CFS, common effing sense.
Let me ask you this. This is very interesting. Of course, I shop at Whole Foods and out into areas where it's not in the lower income area. And I noticed, and I was just talking to a couple of people about this yesterday, how I'm noticing people, mostly Caucasian people, not wearing masks. And it feels so comfortable, and they're smiling at you. They see you not wearing a mask, they smile at you, kind of nod their head. Now, on the racial line, I know that Joe and I was on the show dealing with COVID and the vaccines, where this show that we was on, or that we was invited on the Zoom, where they were trying to set up vaccine stations in the Black neighborhood, and we talked about that it is more Caucasian people, more white people that are not taking the vaccine than Black people. What are you seeing, those who you are following you and listening to you? Could you hear me?
I heard it was the opposite. I heard that Black people were more vaccine hesitant than white people. So I don't know.
When you say that, Doc, what interests me about that is because, to me, and John, you probably might agree, but it seems to be that is the media ploy right there.
Exactly.
Because because now you're pitting people against each other, and you're saying, hey, you gotta hurry up and get it, because we are more susceptible. Don't take that case of milk from Black Lives Matter when they pass it out, and you have less problems. But ultimately, I think that's the media ploy right there. Is here, these people aren't taking it, and they know how emotional and passionate these people over here are. So now these people are pointing at each other and getting triggered by this, while over here on the other side, people are really. I mean, I saw something recently, a public school hearing, and a couple people got escorted out because they would not wear masks.
Yeah.
And some people on the one side of the fence said, hey, how dare he not wear a mask? And I was up there like, hey man, shout out to him. I said I probably would have worn a mask because I would have been there for the public school meeting. But I'm not mad at him for standing up and standing out against that, because again, there shouldn't be a force. My thing is, if you got the vaccine, what were we saying before? When people got the vaccine, hey, what you scared of now? You got the force field. You got the superhero force field magic shot. So you should be good. You shouldn't worry about me at all. But and then again, we go back to common sense, and all of a sudden we're seeing a spike, right? And now they're talking about across the country shutting things down and creating situations where only the vaccinated people can do and be, right? Because we've got a spike. Well, common sense tells me, what have we done over the last, few months? Oh, there was the super vaccine thing, right? And people started getting all the shots, and then all of a sudden we're spiking, and now all of a sudden we want to mask it, and then all of a sudden there's a third shot. I mean, come on, people. If common sense does not kick in at this point, then I just don't know how we can help the people nonetheless. So I guess it's just a matter of continuing to fight the good fight. That's the only thing left to do. Am I right or am I wrong?
Yeah, I think fear plays a big role in the media. You make people afraid, and then common sense goes out the window, and they go, "Oh, I gotta get a third shot, and a third mask, and I gotta stay inside and
close out
my business." And whatever you say, I'm afraid, right? But it all makes no sense to you and I, because we're not afraid. We haven't bought into the mind control, and so it's clearly patent stupidity. But if you're really afraid, your ability to rationally think and use common sense is negated. And so we got to keep, spin the truth here. These people are under this spell of fear that if they weren't, they would see through like, oh, this is absurdity. Like, why did I do any of this? More and more people are waking up every day. That's the good news. So
that's good.
Got to keep doing what.
Absolutely, absolutely. Real quick, I definitely want to make sure that I give a shout out to our sponsors. First up, a BB Toomey Trading Company, the home of Saya Baba and Soap Sticks products. They are in over 400 locations at a store near you. You can also find them at sayababa.com. Again, that's SYABABA.com. That's a BB Toomey Trading Company, sayababa.com, owned by yours truly, Brother John Yah. Health Daddy Wow. Again, www.healthdaddywow.net. Folks, is home of the 100% plant-based vitamins, herbs, cleanses, and teas. We are here to help you live longer, feel better, and look great. Hey, locally, they are at 1806 Ralph Avenue, Tuesday through Saturday, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m., Sunday, 12 noon to 5 p.m. Folks, again, you can order it across the world at healthdaddywow.net. And that's, again, Frank Stoner. Appreciate you, brother. We love the support. And shout out to Kari Muhammad, once again, always supporting us all the time. That is a fantastic graphic artist that does stuff for a lot of companies across the country. So, if you're ever in need, hit up Kari Muhammad. He's got some of the best graphic design work out there. Just the same, folks, this right here, I just want to say, again, pro-choice. That's where we drop the ball at. Pro-choice. This should be a situation to where no one should be forcing me. And again, this conversation, this goes into even when it comes to your home. There are homes divided. I'm going through it right now. Just to keep it all the way real. Kid getting the shot, separate households, things of that nature. Folks, everyone should just have a choice to do what we've been doing for a zillion years and make the decision ourselves. But I'm going to tell you right now, your best decision is focusing on your health so that you don't have to worry. John, you want to say something to that?
Yeah, that's very important, and basically about the health. But I also want to talk about individuals who own businesses. If you're a business owner here in Louisville and you want a spot here to talk about your business, the opportunity to help you grow, come on, give us a call, and we're more than glad to have you on the show to discuss your business. And so, because we're always trying to either advance someone's business and help someone out in trying to improve their health and their wealth, right? So look us up and definitely reach out to us about that.
Absolutely. And again, folks, and that can be businesses across the world. We even had some people from out the country reach out to us to highlight their business. But we're getting more of that. And what I'm seeing is, again, people taking advantage of the opportunity that this pandemic brings. Listen, depending upon how you vibrating, high, low frequency, folks, you're going to see this thing different. You're going to look at this as an opportunity and see what's going on there. You're going to look at this as a downing situation that has a foot on your neck. It just depends on how you vibrating out there, what frequency you putting out, the energy that revolves around you and your circle. But I'm gonna tell you right now, there's a lot of opportunity in business when it comes to this. But when it comes to your health, folks, I can't say it enough. Either you can focus on your health now while you have a choice and negate medicines and medications down the road, or you can wait until you don't have a choice and then you're forced because you ended up with some ailment that you didn't focus on. Doc, would you please go ahead and give us some info on how people can reach out to you, contact you? We already have people asking how to reach out to you. So just go ahead and give us some information on how to to follow you, or what your social media pages, all that good stuff?
Sure. So it's my name on all the platforms. The one I'm most active on is Instagram. I'm also shadow banned on Instagram, so you have to type in my name exactly. But it's Dr. Benjamin Benulis, so Dr.Benjamin, and then last name is spelled Ben, like my first name, Ulis. So if you look that up on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube, I'm on there. drbenjaminbenulis.com is my website. Any of those are good. But I would say probably my website and my Instagram are the ones I'm most active on.
Awesome.
Great.
Awesome. And, it's amazing when you really think about this whole thing. It almost, what's interesting is the movies, right? Movies that we've watched growing up. It's almost like we're playing out a movie right now. And it makes you wonder, what information did directors and writers know when they were making these movies? Because who were they talking to? Who were they consulting? Because some of this stuff is playing out just as we've seen in the movies, and it's almost like we're heading there. We're heading to the vaccinated versus the non-vaccinated. We're heading to a society where these people who got the shot are able to do this, that, and the other. Where if you didn't get the shot, you're not able to. There's already people who've gotten arrested in other for trying to leave the country with fake vaccine cards and things of that nature. That's already going on. And, you're talking about the ability to sue someone, like you were saying earlier, John, if in fact they gave you COVID. Now, I mean, I've never heard of anybody suing anybody for giving them the flu, or for giving them, I mean, and how can you even officially pinpoint it? Because if we go by CDC guidelines and things of that nature, well, dude, it's like, you got 14 days and all these different things going on. You don't know where you got it from, for reals. But it's just amazing.
Basically,
the time.
What's happening in Australia is crazy, and so it makes you glad you're living right here in America, where you have an opportunity to fight back and resist. And it's time. It's time to show resistance. It's time to actually reject what they're telling. Where you in another country, it's a different ball game. Like if you in China, it's a different ball game. China already have a system set up where if you say something against the government or you do something out of line, they have, just like what we have over here, the credit system, where your credit bad, you can't borrow money. Well, they got a system over there that if you're Blackstone, you can't even get on the bus and travel to another property. So you can't travel, you can't get on a plane, you can ride a bike and walk.
Your kids can't get kids in good schools, nothing like that.
Nothing, right? So that's what people are pushed against. People are pushed against their fear. They're afraid to lose their job. You're afraid to lose that car note. You're afraid to lose that house note. And so people will roll up their sleeves and take that shot.
All right. Now, real quick, folks, this has once again been another episode of the Tipping Point Morning Show. We continue it right here on Facebook Live at the Tipping Point Show, or Tipping Point Radio Show. You can check us out there, but we will see you Radioland next week, right here on WLOUonline.com or WLOU 104.7 FM. Peace, people.
Peace.
All right. So everybody can unmute here. And let's see here. Unmute. John, unmute. I'm going to back out, come back in, get the sound right. All right. Sounding good?
Yeah, good.
Yep.
Okay, fantastic. Yes, so we're off the call, Dr. Ben. And the radio part is just an hour. And, we might chat it up a little bit longer. And here we don't have to worry about the FTC. So we can say and speak as we want, how we want, a little bit better here. But real quick, before we started up.
You are listening to The Tipping Point Show with your host, Mr. Just Ask Joe, John Yeah. Right here on WLOU. Stream it live on Facebook and WLOUonline.com. And now, The Tipping Point Show.
All right. A little bit of branding there. Once again, folks, just introducing Dr. Ben here, who is someone that is out here fighting for civil liberties in the medical community, especially. I noticed that protest, I believe it was, you guys did in Scottsdale. I saw you out there with your sign and everything. Tell us a little bit about that and what that was about, Doc.
Sure. So we've had several protests at hospitals in the Phoenix, Scottsdale greater area. And basically what's going on right now is that the hospitals are trying to mandate the shots for the workers there. And the nurses don't want to take it because they are there and they see the people come in with the adverse events and they know that there's risks involved and they don't want to do it. But they're being told, if you don't do it, you can't work here anymore. And so this is a form of coercion, right? Because if this thing were safe and amazing, as they say it is, then everybody would just be lining up to get it. But they're not. And so we were protesting in support of the nurses and the other hospital workers. I'm sure there's doctors that also don't want to get it. In order for them to keep their jobs, because we know that if they mandate it for the employees, well, pretty soon it's going to be they won't even admit you into the hospital unless you've had it. And we want to preserve their jobs. It's not someone, it is unjust for someone to demand you take a product which may very well harm you in order just to keep your job. So we were protesting that because we know that it's like once they come after the nurses, then they're going to come after, the airline workers, or they're going to come after the truck drivers, or they're going to come after people like me and say, I can't renew my license. I'm a danger to my patients unless I've shot up the science juice. So we were fighting that. And so what's happening now, okay, is my understanding based on talking to nurses and people who work in critical care, is that a lot of nurses are calling out. They're fighting it. They're not coming into work, and they're trying to show their employer, like, look, if you fire us, you're hosed. This hospital can't run at full capacity. People are going to die. And so the media is running a story like, oh, the hospitals are full. The hospitals are packed. All these unvaccinated people are filling up the hospitals, and, we're all going to die. Well, no, what's happening is that medical professionals like nurses are not working because they're being forced to get the jab, and so hospital capacity is actually going down, and so they can't admit as many people as they'd like, and now they make this scarcity situation, which is not scarcity of space in the hospital, it's scarcity of people who are willing to work there. So we are essentially trying to help preserve their rights and basically tell these major hospitals in the area, Banner, Honor, Phoenix Children's, like you ain't shooting us up with dope. It ain't happening. So that's what we're about. We know that if we resist, that we have power in numbers. Okay.
Right.
You look at something like the airline industry. United Airlines came out and said all United Airlines employees got to get the jab by like October or something. I can't remember. And people flipped out. They flipped out at United. They flipped out at Delta, at American, and maybe I can't remember. It was either United or Delta. One of the airlines said they were mandating it, and all the employees flipped out and said no way.
Wow.
Well, turns out like a week later, all the other airlines, American and Southwest, and all these guys said we are not mandating it because they saw the firestorm that happened. They saw the shit show. I guess I can curse now.
Yeah.
And so they saw people like you and me take nonviolent direct action, and they said we don't we don't want to be hassled.
Mm.
So just like they're hassling people to get this jab, we're going to hassle them to say, no, we're not. And there's power in numbers, and that's what we're trying to do.
Let me ask you this. On them trying to push this, they are really trying to push it despite all the evidence that's out there. Why do you think they are continuing pushing this? What is really the motive here? What do you think the motive here?
Oh, the motive is money. The motive is money, pure and simple. I mean, you've got an injection that has no liability. So the more of them you sell, the more money you make. You never have to worry about a lawsuit coming back on you.
Yeah.
And the government is buying it. So literally, Uncle Sam is going to the Federal Reserve and printing billions of dollars and just giving it to you. And then you get to give your drug everywhere. So imagine if you had a product that it couldn't harm people and the government just wanted to buy as much of it as they could and just give it to people for free. It's the ultimate money-making scheme. It's like you can't lose.
Why don't they do that for everything? Why don't they do it for cancer treatment? You know, you got to spend some serious ducats if you want to get some real deal cancer treatment. But, you know, if you want the vaccine, you know, they're Oprah Winfrey with all of it, you know, one for you, and one for you, you know. But why don't they do that with other medicines and drugs and things of that nature? Is there not money in the government giving the pharmaceuticals money to distribute cancer treatment free?
You know, like insurance will pay for traditional cancer treatment, for the cut, burn, and poison, for the, you know, chemo, radiation, and surgery. But if you want to go, you know, drink green juice and take IV vitamin C in a naturopathic clinic, we have those in Arizona, you know, forget it. Insurance ain't paying it, right? You're paying $17 for a jar of juice this big, you know, which when you consider that, like, it's actually not a bad deal. So it's where money can be made, right? And okay, you know, there's maybe like 500,000 people that die of cancer every year. There's, you know, several million that are diagnosed with it every year. There's money to be made. But this is a drug that be given to everybody. Everybody.
Yeah.
Like at least everybody over the age of 15 or 12 or whatever age they've said it's safe for now. So it's like you're hitting 60, 70, 80% of the population with this thing. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah. No-brainer. You got that right.
Yeah. That makes sense because, I mean, you can't mandate a cancer treatment for everyone, right? Because everyone doesn't have cancer. So you can't mandate you know, a treatment for kidney failure because everyone doesn't have kidney failure. So you're right when you think about that. Again, just sitting there and saying this is a vaccine, you know, sales 101. I've been a sales professional for years. You know, I'm a life insurance agent and been in sales for years. Sales 101 says create the problem, solve the problem, explain value. Right? Those are three top sales techniques: create the problem, solve the problem, explain value. And that's what they're doing out here. They're telling you that there's a problem and, you know, here's the solution and here's why this solution works and is good for you. But the common sense part of it is the part that really kills me, because when you look up, I had someone ask me the other day, you know, about my son back when I got COVID, and it was probably 2 weeks back. I didn't know with 100% certainty what I was dealing with. I might have assumed and thought that this was COVID, but I didn't know with 100% certainty until I spoke with my other coworkers who had been out, and they went and got tested, and they came back positive for COVID. And as we sat, talked, and explained, you know, to each other about symptoms and things of that nature, then it was like, okay, it was evident that what I had was COVID. You know, I went through some, you know, a little bit of breathing, tough breathing, and all that good stuff, right? You know, and I had my regimen that I went down from a common sense health and wellness perspective that helped me get through it, right? But you know, I took my son to the barbershop a couple weeks later, and now I'm catching it on the back end as it's understood that I now know that I was positive for COVID. And I was asked, well, you know, why didn't you go get your son tested after that? And I said, because number one, I believe with 100% certainty in all the health and wellness, you know, things that I did. So number two, we took precaution just the same, even just driving him to the barbershop. I didn't hug my 14-year-old son. We rolled the windows down. We wore masks in the car, and I did it just because I knew that I had been sick a couple weeks before, and wasn't sure yet what it was. But you know, but see, the division comes into play. Where, oh, well, you still should have gotten him, you know, tested. You know, you still should have gotten tested. You said, why would I get tested? I'm over it now. I don't need to worry about it. But this is the thing. Everyone has this thought process that the test, go get tested, get tested. I don't even want to get the test. That's just me. I don't even want to go anywhere near any of that stuff because it just, none of it makes sense. I mean, my dad right now, you know, my stepmother is a doctor down in Aventura Hospital in South Florida, and you know, my dad is Miami-Dade County Public Schools, you know, advocate and or IT personnel. You know, they've got to get letters, and according to the CDC, after I think it's 10 days after you are clear of symptoms or something like that, you can go back to work. But people are still showing up positive. People are still showing up positive, even weeks later, 2 and 3 weeks later, they're still coming up positive. And we all saw one of the celebrities, which has been taken down now, where they test one nostril was negative and then the other nostril, they're positive. And some of that stuff is quite interesting to me. But the fact of the matter is that do we even trust the test at all? Are the tests even of any real value?
Well, you know, speaking of the test, it's very interesting. I just read some information, I think it was Monday, about ethylene oxide, which was put on the end. It's the chemical that's on the end of the nasal, and it's very toxic to the brain. And they were talking about how these packages, they take, if you read the package, it'll say that it has EO, and that's ethylene oxide, and which is a chemical that is made that is very toxic. If you Google it, you'll see this chemical is very toxic. And if you look on the pack of the nasal swab, they saying if it's got EO, you don't want that up your nose. So it's very interesting how, and it also lowers your immune system. It's very interesting how we're talking about health. But what we're also talking about is a way to lower your immune system. As one doctor put it about the first shot, what the first shot does is lowers your immune system. Well, no wonder you get sick. And then 15% lowers your immune system. Then when you take the second shot, it's another 15%. Then you 35% lower. So guess what? How this society works here in America, that if your immune system is lower, you get sick more. You get sick more. You own some type of pharmaceutical. And so because people are living too long. And so they want to slow the birth rate. This has always been about lowering the birth rates of people, no matter what means. And they're giving shots to people that may have other problems. Like I give you an example, a person who has sickle cell, that may affect their blood by the shot. And then hearing about blood clots, where people who got sickle cell are very afraid. People who already have autoimmune disease are very afraid to take the shot because they're making the shot a blanket statement. It doesn't matter what other illnesses you carry, here, take the shot. And there ain't no other second opinion. There ain't no, like right now, well, I want to get a second opinion from a doctor. There is no second opinion. All the second opinion are thrown out the door, and they look like they are crazy or they're out of it. But we're not looking at a lot of these things here. That what I kind of see is no doubt about money, because if your immune system is lower, guess what? You're going to the doctor more. You're going to be on some type of pharmaceutical medicine for the rest of your life, just because your immune system is lower, and you will die early if you don't build up your immune system, because your immune system is your lifeblood. So they have found a way now to continue to mess with our immune system. And stress hormone is also lowers your immune system, because once you kick in the stress hormones, you can't think about nothing other than stress of your health, right? So it's all kind of factors here to create this lowering your immune system so that you can continue to be ill and sick. Like you said, Doc, hell, you know, I'm like you. I don't know when the last time I've been sick. except for when I had COVID 2 times, and it was in June, right? so, you know, I mean, I understand how it works because if your immune system is lowered, if you're not eating the right vitamins, if you're not eating live foods and you're just eating a lot of dead foods, McDonald's and Kentucky Fried Chicken, eating foods that are cooked in high grease, and it's causing all kinds of problems, then yeah, because you don't hear, if we're really talking about health, we'd be shutting down McDonald's, we'd be shutting down Kentucky Fried Chicken, we'd be shutting down these fast foods that are killing the people really fast with diabetes, right? But and even processed sugar, we'd be throwing out all the processed sugar in the stores, right? But we don't do that. Instead, we bring a child into this world, and so we shoot them with vaccines. We giving them all kind of vaccines from start, and even before they were born, they're dead because mama's eating sugar, and if the mama's eating sugar, the sugar's fed right into the baby, so the baby's born addictive already, right? And we don't even know that. We don't even see how far back this goes when it comes to eating sugar. If you just black away sugar, your immune system will spike up, you know, very strong, just because you got away from sugar. And so we're not understanding how this health works. Nobody's telling us the truth. And most people are just living off television. And this is one of the problems we just talked about today, Joe. You know, specifically for our people, run around, want to get on crates and jump on crates and break their neck. Why is that? Why do we have fun looking at each other fall off a crate? You know, and we'll laugh about it and joke about it. While behind the scenes, they're changing laws on our ass. They're making new laws, and they're going to push your ass out the door with you even trying to advance your own personal life, even with a regular job.
And that's indicative of our society in general. You know, if you've ever seen any of those movies, there's a new one, there's a new series on Netflix now, but it's about a guy that gets kidnapped. It's a guy from Entourage. But he gets kidnapped, and then the show is, I guess, about trying to find him or whatever. But there's a part in the show where he has to hold up a sign that says, "If I get to 5 million views, I'm dead." So, but I've seen other shows and movies like that, and it's usually the person ends up getting killed because people want to see that negative thing happen. They want to jump on the social media and they want to see that, even though it says, "Hey, if I get to 5 million views, I'm dead." You know, so the idea would be, as a society, okay, let's cut that off. Let's not even look at it. But people can't help themselves. We've created a society where people want to see other people's failure. And, you know, I mean, you can talk about how brutal football is or isn't, but you know, now you got the professional, I don't know what you call it, but ultimate fighting sports and whatnot. You know, I mean, we went from, you know, wearing gloves and getting beat up, you know, people, black eyes and bloodied eyes and nose in boxing, to now ultimate fighting. And I mean, you know, you take any lighter skinned person, and next thing you know, they're all red by the time the end of the fight because they got blood everywhere. You know, and it's like, wow, it's interesting how people are now, we want that. We want to see people fall. We want to see people get beat up. We want to see people get hurt. And it's a distraction. It's a complete distraction. I saw something recently. I'll tell you guys, this is very interesting. And I never thought about this, but I was looking at some insurance videos and whatnot. And the guy was telling a story about how a wealthy gentleman was having a conversation with him. And he said, you know, football, baseball, basketball are the poor man's sport. And he was like, well, what are you talking about? And he's like, it's the poor man's sport. He said, just look at the commercials. Soft drinks, coffee, fast foods, you know, all the worst of the worst stuff in society is on the commercials during those type of sports. But when you go and look at tennis and golf, what are the commercials there? You've got commercials focused on financial advisory, investing, life insurance, things of that nature. So they know who's watching what, and they point their advertising directly to those people. And now we're brainwashed into believing that, hey, I need to cut the stem off the strawberry because that's the way it looks in the commercial on TV, when in actuality, if I wash that stem, it tastes like nothing. And if I eat it with the strawberry, it's going to taste like the strawberry, but I got more vitamin C in the stem of that strawberry than in the actual meat of the strawberry itself, right? But we come home and cut the heaviest part off. Dr. Mayo of the Mayo Clinic said if our garbage disposal had a digestive tract, it would be the healthiest member of the family, you know? So when you think about the foods that we don't eat and how advertising plays a part, then, you know, the question is, how do we get away from that? As a society, how do we get away from, you know, all of this brainwashing that's going on? You guys got any ideas?
I mean, I think we just continue to spread the message. I think that 2020, 2021 has been just a giant wake-up call for people.
Yeah.
That, you know, it's kind of like when you figure out that, you know, and spoiler alert for any kids who are watching, that your parents are Santa Claus, and then you figure out that your parents are also the Tooth Fairy and all these other things. It's like if you kind of figure out that one big lie is a lie, then that's what happened to me. I'll say that. Like when I healed myself through diet and nutrition, it made me seriously reevaluate like all these other things in my life, because I was like, wow, I didn't think that was possible, right? And so when the lie just keeps getting more and more absurd to try to get people to believe it, and they have to censor more and shove it down your throat and force it and all this stuff, like people start asking questions of like, why are they pushing for this thing so hard? And then when they realize like the vaccine thing is a farce, then they kind of realize like maybe the whole medical system's a farce. So we just have to keep spreading that message that, like, look, Joe Biden's never going to come on TV and say, get a Vitamix, get some fruits and vegetables. By the way, I'm paying for it. Get healthy now, guys. It's not going to happen. It's going to be dudes like Joe and John doing this show every week and getting the information out there, and it's going to be a bottoms-up thing. It's no great movement of change has ever come top down. It's bottom up. So that's why they keep trying to suppress us. We just got to keep speaking up, and it's going to happen slowly, but eventually you hit what's called a tipping point. And enough people just say, this is ridiculous. I'm not participating. I'm not complying. You know, they said that if 16% of consumers bought organic and refused to buy GMO would go out of business.
That's right.
Wow.
Not 100%, not 50%, not a quarter, 16%.
Wow.
So we don't need everybody to do it. We just need enough to hit a tipping point. That's the name of your show, right?
Yes, that's right.
Thank you for making that plug.
I just realized it as I'm saying it. So I think the solution is to continue to get the word out there and grow it grassroots, bottoms up. And I think we'll do it. Like, I see progress.
I do too.
I went to go get a haircut the other day. Okay. And I've been seeing the same girl for a haircut since before COVID. And we're friends. And she was like, in the beginning, she was all about like, you got to wear a mask to my thing. And I'm just like, okay, fine. Like, I'll get you a haircut. I'll wear it. And I continued to, you know, speak my truth on social media. And she followed me. And one day she was getting my haircut. And she's like, you know, Ben, I think this whole like, I think it's just a political ploy. Like, what do you think? And I'm like, you know, my stance, you know? And so then the next time I see her, she's on the same page with me. And she's like, you know, I see all my posts from 2020, a year ago, when I was buying into everything the media was saying. Because, you know, it shows you like 1 year ago you posted blah, blah, blah. And she's like, I'm disgusted with myself. I can't believe I fell for all of that.
There you go. Yeah.
Like, I can't believe, you know? And so it was because of people like me speaking the truth. It took her a little while to come around, but she's smart. She's not stupid. She just needed to, you know, not get, you know,
she needed a direction to be pointing to go find the other side of information to look at. And it sounded like she came to a decision herself.
Yeah,
you know,
she looked at both opinions and like used common sense and said, you know what Ben's saying makes more sense to me.
Absolutely. You got a question here, Doc. Let's see. Shout out to Phyllis Myers. She's asking, does the doctor treat specific microbiome issues?
I don't treat any issues. What I do is I help people create health. So I'm just working on basically boosting people's level of health and boosting people's level of immunity, and chronic health issues tend to resolve. So when you say there's a microbiome specific issue, I don't know what the issue is, but you can shoot me a message, kind of tell me about what's going on, and like find me on social media, on my website, whatever, and shoot me a message, tell me about what's going on, and I'll try to, if I can help you, I'll let you know. If I can't, I'll get you the right person.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. Well, real quick, you brought up something, and because we're not going to go too long here, but you brought up something that I thought was interesting. You talked about Biden. Am I the only one that's still not feeling real secure as to whether or not he's going to do these full 4 years? Because I'm seeing. Listen, in life insurance, I deal a lot in final expense. Okay, I deal a lot in final expense. I have become an expert at spotting out Alzheimer's disease, and that's what I see when I listen to any reports. A lot of different reports of Biden, and I saw it, before he got elected, and I said, dude, this guy. His cognition is way off. I think either they purposely, they know this and they're looking to showcase the first female president. But I don't think that he's right in the mind. How do you guys feel?
I agree. Yeah.
Because I'm looking at it and I'm feeling like we're dealing with and people say a lot, well, the president has all this power and this, that, and the other, but I don't think that we would have he can't have too much power. This has to be a conglomerate of his whole constituency or his whole team, because there's no way that this guy is doing anything, making any real decisions. That's a team of people there that is making the decisions for him. But with that being said, any last thoughts, words, questions that any of you guys have? John, Dr. Ben?
No, I pretty much covered everything. Anybody else who was listening got a question they want to pop up while we have the doc online, that'll be great. But about Biden, of course, I felt all that was a joke, even getting him elected, or how they did it, and people's fear. Basically, this is how you rule people. So they made a lot of people believe that Trump is a racist and everything else to move people's emotions, and didn't even care what Biden was pushing. They just didn't care. They didn't care Biden's history either, So it's the fear thing, man, and that scares me more than anything. But what I am glad is what Dr. Ben just mentioned, is that it is changing, and depending on what vibration you are at, you will see the change. Some people is at the lower vibration, they don't see the change. They're constantly bringing in more fear. But for myself, as I travel, even when I'm in Cincinnati and I'm doing my business is in, I deliver products to different stores, from the hood to out to the affluent neighborhoods, and I'm seeing a change. I'm seeing people like, they're not that serious. They're not taking this no more. It's almost like they're tired, right? And so it's very good. Even in a restaurant I go to up in Cincinnati called the Juicery. It's a vegan restaurant. They have some of the best juice in Cincinnati where I can snatch up and go with. And when they first started out last year, they was, you had to stand outside and wear a mask to come in. You couldn't eat inside. Now they just relaxed. They just took the thing away, and you can just come in and eat, drink your juice. And even with this new variant that popped up, everybody's like, I'm tired. Come on in. Let me serve you. Ain't nobody tripping. So that inspires me. That gives me hope that I'm seeing people resist, because that's the thing. I think if more of us resist, we will vibrate more closer to each other. just like I'm seeing on Clubhouse. And I tell people all the time, it doesn't matter what color you are, where you got to understand something about this health. You got to understand about how you can vibrate a better life and how you can improve your life and bring in whatever you want in life. It's not about the color. It's about whatever the universe is giving you and what you are giving to the universe. And so a lot of people are stuck under this lack movement. I can't pay my bills. Oh, I'm scared. Oh, where are my kids going to go to school? Oh, I'm going to lose my job. And there are some people that's in abundance, where life is abundance. People are getting the life they want. They are able to pay their bills. They are able to create other income, other streams of income. Joe, you and I talk about it all the time, where New Millionaires was made last year. You know how much money my business sold 3 times last year, and how I'm into increasing my business today. And I don't see the fear. I'm sorry, I just don't see it. I'm seeing people are really changing, and that's maybe that. And I talked about this last night. Maybe because of what I feel, because I do believe that you vibrate in your space, whatever you're thinking. I think human consciousness does that. And I think because I don't have fear, I don't watch television, that I'm actually seeing what I'm thinking. So I'm seeing people, and it's interesting. So maybe, okay, I'm ready to go to Whole Foods. Is this, I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. Okay, I'm ready to go to Whole Foods. So I'm going to go to Whole Foods. Is it that I'm vibrating that everybody else who believes like I believe is going to Whole Foods at the same time? And I'll go so we all see each other, and we ain't. And then the person who does believe in the COVID, he's going to go to Whole Foods the next hour, and all he sees people with masks on. So I don't know, but I know that what I'm seeing in my dimension is less fear. It's giving me hope, and it is a vibrating a higher level of thinking, of confidence. So I could care less what the government is doing, long as the people are woke and we can resist and be able to stand up against it. That's what I look forward to.
Exactly. I guess if it ever gets to where that's not the case, then that's when we got the real problem.
Right.
Absolutely. Any last words? Did have one question out there. Did the doctor say he helps people with medical exemptions? You didn't. I don't. Did I hear you? You didn't say that, did you?
No, I don't. You got to see a medical doctor in your state for one.
Gotcha. Okay.
Now there are forms you can go and download. I have a website you can go and get a medical exemption form. I don't know what that means today with this COVID thing. I know that when I raised my daughter, we didn't do vaccines in public school, and there was an exempt form you can get a religious person to sign and say, hey, I ain't with that shit, right? And so I don't know about now how that's working now, whether it's the same thing, because if it would be the case, people will be using it with their job, saying, hey, here's my exempt form, I'm not taking it. But it's somehow they're pushing this first so much that it's almost like, do the form really matters at this point of what they're doing now? I tell everyone, if you are fearing, and I think brother here is really pushing the point about what's going on with the public schools. I mean, we was talking the other day about that. And so we encourage you need to homeschool your kid anyway. You need to get your kids out of public school, period. And you won't have to worry about them programming your child with some crap. And then you got to come, your child's got to come home. Then you got to re-educate your child on some things that you do not agree with what they're doing in schools. And specifically trying to pass laws to where a certain age they can get the vaccine without your permission. I mean, think about that. So I would encourage anyone, hey, stand up, pull the kid. It's not hard to homeschool. Homeschooling is all damn day. My granddaughter be with me. She come over to the warehouse. She's counting and learning and reading. It's schools all day. When sometimes she come over, she's helping me cook. She makes sea moss, right? So school is all day. Quit acting like school's got to be 6 hours. Take time out and just read with your kid, educate your kid, do some math with them, and that's just school.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, before we go real quick, Doc, I'd love to give you a chance to kind of speak to some, maybe some positive, give us some positive things that you've seen happen in your practice, your chiropractic world, or in this medical fight. Just, give us some, let us go out here with some positive something that you can tell us about.
Sure. I think, when we stand up and there's enough of us, we win. We've seen with the local naturopathic school, that they told all their students, like, hey, you got to declare your vaccination status by the end of this week, and if you don't, you don't get to go to class. Well, a few hundred of them didn't comply and just said, no, we're not doing it. We're showing up to class anyway. And the school backpedaled, and they said, well, just in a little more time, you gotta tell us. You gotta tell it, right? And so they just stood up and said no. And the school's like trying to pretend to enforce stuff, but they got enough of the students there that are not complying that they can't kick them all out. And so they're kind of backpedaling on these mandates they've been trying to push on the students just by peaceful non-compliance of them saying, like, no, I'm not going to do it, and you're not going to, like, kick me out of school, and, you know, doing things like, you know, if they're like barred from entry because their badge won't get them in the building, other students are letting them into class. So they're just bullies, and you just got to stand up to them. The power that they have is ill-begotten and essentially an illusion. You know, if enough of us stand up, so that's what we got to keep doing. Don't believe the hype. Don't believe the fear. Take control of your health. That's the ultimate freedom.
Yeah.
If you have control of your health, you're never going to need a pharmaceutical drug. You're never going to need government health care. You know, unless you get your arm ripped off or something, then you got to go to the hospital and get it sewn back on. But for the most part, like, you're not going to get diabetes, cancer, heart disease, all these things that kill most people. So you're going to declare your independence just with your health. And so that is the most powerful form of freedom that we have, is our health. And that's why they're trying so hard to take it away. But the good news is it's in your hands. You just got to do the work. There's no doctor. I'm not coming to save you. No other doctor's coming to save you. You got to put it in, but it's doable. It's enjoyable. And you know, there's no, you know, drugs have a high and a low. There's no low from health. You just keep going up. Okay?
Yeah.
And so freedom's a side effect of that. All the side effects are good things. So yeah, just continue to take care of your health. That's your passport to freedom. I'll leave with that.
Great.
There we go. All right. Well, good stuff there. Once again, thanks, Dr. Ben, for coming on the show. And you know, you have an open invitation, and we'll showing this and sharing it all week. And it's amazing how when we do shows like this, how many people tune in on the share. So you know, I'll send you the links as well, and you know, it'd be great if you get a chance to share it yourself on your platform, so people can, you know, hear this stuff and hear some truth as it's being told here. So we appreciate you. Once again, thanks for coming on to the Tipping Point Morning Show. John, thank you, brother. We appreciate you. Dr. Ben, see you. And folks, we'll see you next week.
Appreciate you, Doc. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
All right.